The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene offers insight into the dynamics of power and how it can be gained, maintained, and utilized to maneuver through different situations life may throw at you. For the next couple of weeks, enjoy these dynamic illustrations and short stories that will spark your metamorphic fix. So let's begin.
Law number 1. Never outshine the master. Once upon a time, there was a young man named John who was just starting out in his career. John was ambitious and determined to succeed, but he quickly found that the world of business was cutthroat and competitive. He struggled to get ahead, always seeming to be one step behind his rivals. One day, John stumbled upon a book called The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. He began reading it and was immediately captivated by the first law, never outshine the master. The law stated that in any organization or hierarchy, it is important to never overshadow your superiors. This could lead to jealousy, resentment, and even retaliation. Instead, it is best to stay in the shadows, be humble, and let your boss take credit for your accomplishments. At first, John was skeptical. He had always been taught to work hard and stand out, to be the best at whatever he did. But the more he thought about it, the more he realized that there was wisdom in this law. He began to see examples all around him of people who had failed to follow it and suffered the consequences. So John decided to put the law into practice. He started to tone down his achievements, giving credit to his boss instead of taking it for himself. He made sure to never be too successful or ambitious in front of his superiors. He even started dressing more conservatively, avoiding flashy clothes or accessories that might draw attention to himself. At first, John's colleagues didn't notice the change. But gradually, they began to see him in a new light. He seemed more dependable, more loyal, more focused on the company's success rather than his own. His boss, in particular, began to trust him more and more, giving him important tasks and even promoting him to a higher position. John was amazed at how well the law had worked for him. He realized that by staying in the shadows and letting his boss take the lead, he had gained more power and influence than he ever could have by trying to outshine his superiors. He had learned the importance of subtlety, of playing the long game, of knowing when to hold back and when to step forward. In the end, John became one of the most successful executives in his company. He had mastered the first law of power and was now ready to tackle the other 47. But he never forgot the lesson he had learned, that sometimes, the best way to gain power is to let others have it first. So remember, the first law from the 48 Laws of Power states that never outshine the master. It advises people to avoid appearing more intelligent, capable, or successful than their superiors, as it may threaten their position and cause resentment. Instead, one should strive to make their master look good and feel superior, as it will earn their favor and protection. This law is a cautionary tale about the dangers of overt ambition and the importance of respecting hierarchies in the pursuit of power.
If you're enjoying this video so far, please support us by hitting the subscribe button and liking the video. By doing this, you are helping us reach more people to share this amazing information with. Now that that's out of the way, let's get back to the video.
Law number 2. Never put too much trust in friends, learn how to use your enemies. Once upon a time, there was a small kingdom ruled by a wise and just king named Leon. He had a large and loyal army, but he knew that one day he would have to face a powerful neighboring kingdom that was determined to conquer his land. So, King Leon decided to put into practice the second law of power, never put too much trust in friends, learn how to use enemies. He knew that this law was essential to survival, as even the closest allies could turn against him in times of war. He understood that it was important to always be one step ahead of his enemies, to know their weaknesses and to use them to his advantage. One day, King Leon received a message from the neighboring kingdom. The message was a warning, stating that the kingdom was planning to invade his land and take over his throne. King Leon knew that he had to act quickly, but he was not sure who he could trust. He decided to put his trust in a man named Jack, who had been his friend for many years. Jack was a skilled warrior and had fought alongside King Leon in many battles. The king thought that Jack was loyal and would do anything to protect the kingdom. But Jack had other plans. He had been secretly plotting with the neighboring kingdom to overthrow King Leon and take his place on the throne. When he heard that the kingdom was planning an invasion, he saw it as the perfect opportunity to put his plan into action. King Leon was devastated when he found out about Jack's betrayal. He had put too much trust in his friend and had not learned how to use his enemies. He knew that he had to act quickly if he wanted to save his kingdom. The king decided to seek help from an unlikely source, the neighboring kingdom's greatest enemy, a powerful and feared warlord named Marcus. King Leon knew that Marcus had a deep hatred for the neighboring kingdom and would do anything to see them defeated. He sent a messenger to Marcus with an offer: if he would help defend King Leon's kingdom against the invading army, he would be given a large sum of gold and be allowed to keep any land he conquered in the neighboring kingdom. Marcus was intrigued by the offer and decided to accept. He sent a large army to help King Leon defend his kingdom. The two armies met on the battlefield, and after a long and bloody battle, they emerged victorious. King Leon learned an important lesson that day, that it is better to use enemies to your advantage than to put too much trust in friends. He knew that he could never let his guard down, and that he would always have to be one step ahead of his enemies. In the end, King Leon's kingdom was saved, and he became known as one of the wisest and most successful kings in all the land. He had learned the value of using enemies to his advantage and had put into practice the second law of power. The moral of the story, as stated in law number 2 from the 48 laws of power, is: never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. This law advises people to be cautious of blindly trusting friends, as they may betray or disappoint you. Instead, it recommends utilizing enemies as they can provide valuable insights and opportunities for growth. By using enemies strategically, one can turn their weaknesses into strengths and gain power over them. This law is a reminder of the importance of discernment and the need to be strategic in relationships to succeed in the game of power. Law number 3. Conceal your intentions. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there was a young prince named Alexander. He was the heir to the throne, and everyone expected great things from him. But Alexander grew up and became arrogant and haughty, and he believed that he could do anything he wanted without consequence. One day, Alexander came across a book that talked about the third law of power: conceal your intentions. The book said that it was important to keep your plans and motives hidden from others, especially your enemies. If they knew what you were planning, they could use it against you. At first, Alexander scoffed at the idea. He believed that he was powerful enough to handle anything that came his way. But as time passed, he began to realize that there were people who were working against him, trying to undermine his authority and steal his throne. So, Alexander decided to put the third law of power into practice. He began to keep his plans and intentions hidden from everyone, including his closest advisors and family members. He would hold secret meetings and make deals behind closed doors, never revealing his true motives. At first, Alexander's subjects were confused by his behavior. They couldn't understand why he was being so secretive, and rumors began to spread that he was planning something nefarious. But as time passed, they began to see the wisdom in his actions. Alexander's enemies, who thought they had him figured out, were caught off guard by his sudden change in behavior. They didn't know what he was planning, and they couldn't predict his next move. This put Alexander in a position of power, as he was always one step ahead of his rivals. But as Alexander's power grew, so did his arrogance. He believed that he was invincible, and he began to make enemies out of even his closest allies. He started to trust no one, and he became paranoid that someone would try to take his throne. One day, a group of rebels rose up against Alexander, determined to overthrow him and take his place on the throne. Alexander was caught off guard, as he had never anticipated such an attack. His arrogance had blinded him to the reality of the situation. In the end, Alexander was defeated, and he was forced to flee his kingdom in shame. He had learned an important lesson, that while it was important to conceal your intentions, it was equally important to not let your arrogance blind you to the reality of the situation. Alexander's downfall was a cautionary tale, and his kingdom fell into chaos and disarray. But his legacy lived on. So remember, the fundamental principle of the third law is to conceal your intentions. This law advises people to be guarded about their plans and intentions, as knowledge is power and giving away too much information can make one vulnerable. By keeping one's plans secret, they can maintain a sense of mystery and control, and be better prepared to counter any potential opposition. This law is a reminder of the importance of strategic thinking and the need to keep one's cards close to their chest in the pursuit of power.
For weekly freebies and contest giveaways, make sure you follow the link in the description to Metamorphic Health Weekly, where we send out a wide range of health tips, free recipes, fitness tips, and contest giveaways. Be sure not to miss out. Click the link below for Metamorphic Health Weekly. We hope you enjoyed today's video and would gladly appreciate it if you gave us a like and hit that subscribe button to help support the channel.
This concludes this week's episode of the 48 Laws of Power. Which law did you resonate with the most? Or is there a law you disagree with? Let us know in the comments below. And remember to subscribe and turn on your notifications for next week's episode. Until then, embrace your metamorphic tenets to transform.